Uncovering the unsung heroes of the road. These aren't your everyday pickups. They're the workhorses and trailblazers that deserve the spotlight but missed out. So here are some of the underrated pickup trucks that many people forgot about.
1968 F-250, part of their 5th-gen F-Series. This truck was a real workhorse, built during 1967 to 1972, when Ford wasn't really into making big changes with each model year. Instead, they focused on making solid, reliable trucks. The F-250 was designed to handle up to 3/4 of a ton of whatever you needed to haul. That year, Ford's lineup was pretty impressive, with the F-100, F-250, and F-350 each coming in different sizes and styles. From the half-ton F-100 with its 2 wheelbase options to the 1-ton F-350 and its super spacious crew cab version, there was something for everyone who needed a durable truck. While other brands were making their trucks sleeker and more rounded, Ford stuck to its guns. The 1968 F-Series trucks were all about sharp lines, a boxy look, and a bold horizontal line that split the sides. The wheel wells were straight-edged, and the grille was more detailed than what you'd find on other trucks. Under the hood, Ford kept things exciting by introducing a couple of new engines. The 360 and 390 cubic inch powerhouses, alongside the 302, which took over from the discontinued 289 hypo. Depending on the setup, the 302 engine could pump out between 210 to 230 horsepower. For the ride, these trucks boasted the twin I-beam independent suspension, a setup designed to take a beating and last longer. The back of the truck had the flexomatic suspension, which adjusted on the fly depending on how much load you were carrying. This made for a truck that wasn't just tough, but also smart about how it carried its weight. Despite its strengths, the 1968 F-250 isn't without its critics. Some owners talk about engine problems, like a knocking noise that's hard to ignore. And there were many other problems reported at that time. This might be the reason that this vintage model to get overlooked. The 1958 Willys Jeep pickup, also known as the Super Hurricane. Picture this, a beast powered by the L6226 engine. We're talking about a solid cast iron block and cylinder head, with 6 cylinders that bring to life an engine with a bore of 3 5/16 inches and a stroke of 4 3/8 inches. This gives us a hefty 226.2 cubic inches of piston displacement. What does all that mean? It means this engine pumps out 105 horsepower at 3,600 revolutions per minute and hits a max torque of 190 pound-feet at just 1,400 revolutions per minute. Back in the day, after World War II, everyone was craving new vehicles, and Willys was right there to catch the wave. They introduced 4-wheel drive across all body styles in 1949, which was a game-changer. By 1951, the 2x2 pickup was out and 4-wheel drive was in, staying that way until production wrapped up in 1964. The late 1950s were all about flash and chrome in the car world, and Willys, even with their more practical approach, wanted in on the action. Enter the Maverick package for the 1958 model, adding some unique body-side trim and optional 2-tone paint for both the 2-wheel and 4-wheel drive models. Despite its cool features, the 1958 Willys Jeep pickup with the L6226 engine didn't get the spotlight it deserved. It was a workhorse at a time when the world was looking at the glitz and glamour of other cars. Even with a robust and reliable engine, it was seen as a bit old school because it stuck with an in-block valve design rather than moving to the more modern overhead valve setups. The Willys Jeep pickup was designed with function in mind, but even with its Maverick makeover, it wasn't viewed as a luxury or particularly stylish ride. Its real strengths, durability, reliability, and being a champ off-road, weren't the hottest tickets for the average buyer back then. International Harvester K-Series pickup. Launched back in the early 40s by International Harvester, one of the giants in American agricultural machinery, this lineup of trucks was all about ruggedness, a design that stood the test of time and affordability that caught everyone's eye. The K-Series wasn't just any truck lineup, it was a massive family of 42 different models, with an impressive range of 142 wheelbase lengths and load capacities stretching from the everyday half-ton all the way up to a whopping 90,000 pounds. Talk about variety! These trucks were categorized from K1 to K14. Based on how much they could haul, K1 was your go-to half-ton, K2 bumped it up to 3/4 of a ton, K3 was the 1-ton heavyweight, and it just went up from there. The K1 and K2 were pretty similar in terms of what was under the hood and the chassis design, but the K2 packed a punch with a stronger suspension. As for the K3, it stepped up its game with a sturdier frame, bigger brakes, and rear axles that meant serious business. And if we're talking heavy-duty, the K4 was in a league of its own with its artillery-style wheels. In 1947, the K-Series got a stylish upgrade with the KB models, adding a bit of flair with a widened lower grille that looked like wings and some sleek chrome detailing. This line kept on trucking until 1949 when it passed the baton to the more modern L-Series. But here's the thing. Despite their built-to-last design and wallet-friendly price, the K and KB series trucks have kind of faded into the background, often left gathering dust in barns or ending up as forgotten treasures in junkyards. Why? Well, for starters, they weren't the easiest to drive. Their transmissions were notoriously tough to handle, especially since they didn't have synchronized gears. These trucks were built to haul serious weight, thanks to their transmission and rear-end gearing, but that made them a bit of a challenge for everyday driving, compared to other trucks from the same era. Another reason they're not as celebrated today is simply the competition. With the abundance of restored Ford and Chevy classic trucks out there, international KB trucks are rare gems. They offer a unique touch to the classic truck scene, but finding one can be a bit of a treasure hunt. They're out there, rare and affordable, waiting for someone to rediscover their rugged charm and bring them back to life. 1971. Ford Ranchero GT. This car-truck combo isn't just any vehicle. It's a classic that tells the story of innovation born from necessity. Picture this. Back in the 1930s, Australian farmers were in a tough spot. They needed a ride that could do double duty, take the family around and also lug goods to the market. Enter Lou Bant, a designer at Ford Australia, who had a light bulb moment. He mixed a coupe with a cargo box, creating the ultimate utility vehicle, or ute, which became a hit in the Australian outback for years. Fast forward to the United States, where the Ranchero carved out its own little niche, sparking rivals like the Chevy El Camino and GMC Sprint to pop up. Though it didn't fly off the shelves like in other countries, Ford kept the Ranchero rolling out until 1979. Especially from 1970 to 1971, the Ranchero, available in various trims including the GT and Squire, became a budget-friendly option for muscle car fans. The 1971 model, part of the fifth generation, brought some fresh vibes and better performance to the table. It took some cues from its big brother, the Ford Torino, but added its own twist with a boxier look. And get this, any Ranchero could be decked out with a 429 Cobra jet engine, boasting 370 horsepower, all thanks to a Rochester 4-barrel carburetor. This particular GT model we're talking about had some cool features like a ram air hood and air conditioning. It sported a factory-correct red paint job, though it was given a new lease on life with a fresh coat of paint after being stripped down to bare metal. Originally sold in California, it has a story that starts on the iconic Route 66. Despite its standout features and solid performance, the Ranchero GT flew under the radar. While the rest of the world was getting into unit-body car-based pickups, the U.S. market was moving in a different direction. Production numbers were modest, with just over 21,000 Rancheros made in 1970 and about 24,946 in 1971, including a few thousand GTs. Even though it was often overshadowed by the Torino and its variants, the Ranchero didn't just sit back. It benefited from a bunch of upgrades, making this generation one of the most formidable yet. Nowadays, the Ranchero still holds a bit of mystery for many car enthusiasts.